Welcome everyone to the Crazy About Diabetes chats, where I'm connecting with people living with diabetes to explore a little bit about their journey, share some tips, break down that stigma, and sprinkle in a little bit of fun. Because we know when we share our stories, we can really empower each other. Today I am with Mark Tiller, and he is a Tasmanian born and has been living in the UK since 2000. He's been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in 1996, and he really has been using his voice to raise awareness and break down that stigma. He's a computer programmer by profession, but he also holds a qualification in wildlife photography. You can kind of see what his background there. He's married with two grown children, and he brings both his lived experience and his involvement in the diabetes community to this chat. So, hi, Mark. Thanks again for being part of this chat and welcome here.
Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Well, we may start off with a bit of a fun question, and also because I do love a good playlist. So, if your diabetes journey had a theme song, what would it be and why? What kind of song really resonates with you?
I can think of lots of songs,
Me too.
and you sent me this question early to give me a bit of a chance to think about it.
Yeah.
And I actually came up with a Gloria Gaynor medley
Okay.
because there are several songs of hers that I think are relevant to this. Um, they are I Am What I Am, I Will Survive, um, with a touch of I Can't Take My Eye Off You,
Yeah.
and also Eye of the Tiger. Um,
Mm.
I mean, I am what I am. I don't want praise. I don't want pity.
Yeah.
I bang my own drum. Some people think it's noise, but I think it's pretty. And that really describes
Yeah.
my life with diabetes. I am what I am. And don't get me wrong, it's taken me a long time to come to that conclusion.
Mm.
It my journey has not all been easy, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that you and other people with diabetes can relate to that. It
Absolutely.
can be really tough at times, but I will survive. I think is fairly obvious. Um, yes, and I will survive, but there's more to life than just survival.
Yeah.
There's a Latin phrase that I even have it on a T-shirt that says "Dub vivimus vivamus," and it's Latin and it translates to "While we live, let us live," rather than just survive. So yeah, um, can't take my eyes off you. You cannot take your eyes off your diabetes,
Yeah.
and that is one of
Very
the real
true.
challenges.
Mm.
Um, you have to be watching it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that's just what's so wearing about it. Um, but hold on, let me just see if I've got numerous windows up on my desktop. But
That's like
just
diabetes.
yeah, um, Eye of the Tiger, raising back off the street, did my time, took my chances, went the distance, and I'm back on my feet.
Mm.
And that really is my diabetes journey. I'm far better off than I was for a long
Yeah.
time. But I'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a nice mixture of the three songs and how your journey has been kind of through those ups and downs and what you've learned through the journey and how you've come out of it. And I can definitely relate to the first one where, I used to hide behind my type 1 diabetes. I didn't want anybody to know about it. I was very ashamed, where now I'm like, okay, this is me. And then the other side of it, that, I have the responsibility, so I can't take my eyes off of it. I do need to be responsible for this. So I really like all of those songs, how they tie in and they blend in for your
Yeah,
journey.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually there is another one that I'm just going to throw
Bring
in.
one more in. Throw another one in.
I'll bring one more in, and this is um, one that most people outside of Australia would not have heard of. There's a band from the 80s called Moving Pictures had a song, What About Me?
Mm,
And this is more to about my interactions with the medical establishment.
okay.
Because sadly, there is still stigma among medical professionals towards people with diabetes,
Yeah.
particularly type 2. But um, oh, just the first verse, there's a little boy waiting at the counter of a corner shop. He's been waiting down there, waiting half the day. They never ever see him from the top.
Mm,
He gets pushed around, knocked to the ground, but he runs outside and screams, What about me?
yeah.
And yeah, you know, sometimes I feel like that kid. Um,
Yeah.
Not so much now, because now it's a case of you walk in and say, fine, this is what I want. This is what I am entitled to
Yeah.
me, and I am not going to take no for an answer. I mean, we talk about advocacy. I have yet to meet an advocate who didn't start on that journey
Mm,
by advocating for themselves.
yeah. Yeah.
And yeah,
Uh,
it's sorry, it's getting
I
really
no,
heavy really
I was gonna
quickly
say
here.
I can definitely see how that song really does something to you and really resonates with you. And as you said, it starts when you have to realize that you have to advocate for yourself in order
Yeah,
to get the needed care, the support, the technology, whatever it is. You really do have to advocate for yourself, and it takes a lot to learn that. And I think those songs are a great segue for you if you'd be able to share a little bit more about your diabetes story and how did your diagnosis with type 2 diabetes unfold?
yeah. Um, right. I was diagnosed in 1996. My ex-wife, I'm divorced and remarried. Um, my ex-wife noticed that I was going to the loo a lot,
Mm,
drinking a lot, and classic symptoms
yeah.
of diabetes. And her father had diabetes, so I think that's what sort of
Okay.
twigged
Yeah,
her
yeah.
to it. And so I went to see his GP. My blood glucose was 18. So hold on. If I go to, or 364,
Yeah, to calculate it.
if you, if if you sorry, it's 18 squared, which I happen to know is 364. So
Very good. That's the
um,
thing about diabetes. You're like incredible mathematicians, aren't you?
absolutely. Um, so they put me in hospital for 3 days while they stabilised my levels, put me
Mm,
on insulin. Now, in hindsight, I can see that I was misdiagnosed as type 1
okay.
initially. I was 35 when I was diagnosed, so a bit too old for type 1. But at the time, it was
Mm,
in 1996, nobody saw diabetes in people under 40, type 2 diabetes in people under 40. So based on the fact that they put me straight on insulin
yeah.
and they gave me long-acting insulin as well as short-acting,
Wow.
I know that they thought I was type 1. And they patted me on the head at the end of the 3 days. And they basically looked at me and said, You look far too healthy to be in hospital.
Mm, yeah,
Um,
off you go.
yeah, basically. They patted me on the head with almost no, they taught me to inject, obviously,
Yeah.
but there was almost no training, and they made it very clear and very blunt. They said, You will have this for the rest of your life, and it's only going to get worse.
Wow. Very
That
big
was their
scare tactic.
exact, yeah, that was their exact words. Um, the nurse I mainly dealt with was incredibly abrupt, not big on the empathy scale,
Mm,
and yeah, that was the message I took away. I'm going to have it for the rest of my life, and it's
wow.
only going to get worse.
Okay. And what was going
And
through your mind then, during that time when they said those things to you?
despair,
Yeah. Yeah.
is probably not too strong a term. Um, Now, of course, they didn't actually explain to me that I was type 1,
Okay.
right? I just knew I had diabetes. I wasn't told whether it was type 1 or type 2. And later on, I got asked the question, do you have insulin dependent diabetes or non-insulin dependent? And I didn't realize at that point that that was another way of describing type 1 and type 2.
Right. Right.
And so when somebody said to me, do you have insulin dependent diabetes? I said, well, they put me on insulin, so I
So it
guess yes,
must
I
be.
do.
Yeah. Yeah. That lack of education there, huh?
Yeah. And I still blame myself
Yeah.
about it. I thought, oh, what have I done in my diet? Because I didn't understand diabetes.
Yeah.
Um, it's the particularly at that point, certainly in Australia, there was zero education on the causes and the types of diabetes.
Mm.
And I didn't understand for a long time, and it got to the point where I didn't want to think about my diabetes. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm I have sensitive fingertips at the best of times,
Hmm.
and sticking a needle in my finger several times a day, and then
Yeah.
having to type as a computer programmer
Yeah. Lots of
is
calluses on the ends of those fingers, huh?
it's not a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and it hurts. And more to the point, you don't know whether that particular finger prick is going to hurt or not, because sometimes you can hardly feel it, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's incredibly painful.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that the strange thing? And sometimes no blood comes out, so you have to prick another time and another time.
Yeah, exactly. Um, to put not too fine a point on it, I burnt out really
Yeah.
badly.
Yeah.
Um, I I didn't want to think about my diabetes. I took my insulin when I remembered. Um, and look, type 2 diabetes is insulin resistance.
Hmm.
Right? That's it. And the causes of that insulin resistance are largely genetic. And like all type 2s, I lucked out in the genetic lottery.
Mm.
You know, look,
Not one you want to get a good ticket for, huh?
yeah, my eldest brother David has my father's metabolism, and it is as thin as a rake,
Yeah.
and can eat what he likes and never put on a pound. The rest of the family take after my mother,
Oh,
so
okay.
you know
Okay.
it really is genetics.
Yeah.
But um, my insulin resistance got worse to the point where I was on 250 units of insulin a day.
Okay.
Um, you know, 50 units of long-acting insulin in the morning and the same
Yeah.
before I went to bed, and 50 units before each meal. Um, like I say, when I remembered,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
and I just didn't want to think about it. Um, and that went on for several years. And I blamed myself and felt guilty about not taking better care of myself, and went through all of those things that almost any person who's had diabetes for more than a year can relate to, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And also that acceptance, part. It's
Yeah,
it's it's a
it
hard one to be able to
yeah
accept, bring on
it
board.
yeah. Um, and that continued on. In 2014, I started having laser surgery for diabetic retinopathy, and not even that was enough to really shift me.
Okay.
I improved a little bit,
Yeah.
but not very much. Um, I was lucky in that my GP had a particular interest in diabetes, and he ran large scale or larger scale clinical trials for some of
Mm.
the drug companies. So I got early access to some of the new Liptons that came out, and they helped a bit.
All
But
right. It was great that he
it,
was engaged in your diabetes though at that point.
yeah, it was great. Unfortunately, he retired, um, but while I was working with him, he was great.
Mm.
Um, but things came to a head in my life in multiple ways in 2019. In the middle of the year, um, we had yet another round of job cuts in the place I was working. And it was blatantly obvious to me this time that they wanted to get rid of me.
Mm.
Um, which, look, at age 58 as a computer programmer, that's a really scary concept.
Yeah, yeah. You must have
I'd been
felt
working
very
there,
vulnerable as well.
yeah, I'd been working there since 2005. So I'd been there 14 years. Um, so I was completely out of touch with the job market. Anyway, um, it got to the point where I was walking towards the office one morning feeling like I was going to throw up. I was just that stressed.
Yeah, yeah.
And I decided I can't do this. And I turned around and messaged my wife and went home. And she, while I was on the way home, had organised a doctor's appointment for me. And the GP took one look at me and signed me off initially for 3 weeks
Wow.
on stress leave, but ended up overall I was off for 2 months. Um,
Okay. That's the stress and the burnout and all of that seemed to have really, really
it
impacted.
absolutely did. Um, and after I'd unwound for a month, and it took that long for me to regain some mental equilibrium,
Mm.
I realized I could not go back.
Yeah.
It was just too toxic an environment. Um, and they were offering redundancy packages, so I decided to accept one, um, not knowing whether or not I'd be able to find another job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's I suppose it's like a risk, but at the other side, you knew that you couldn't take that on anymore.
No, it just wasn't worth my health.
Yeah.
And the importance of that event, and to me it was pivotal,
Mm.
was that in that act I had chosen to prioritize my health. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think paved the way for everything that would happen over the next 12, 18 months after that.
Okay. So it nearly needed to get to that point for you to really understand that you couldn't continue this way and
Yeah.
that your health had to win.
Yeah. Anyway, um, on the 14th of November 2019, I had a set of, which is World Diabetes Day, I had a set of blood tests. And about 10 days later, um, I went and saw the nurse at the GP surgery. And like, I probably don't need to tell you this, but as a type 2, we don't even rate a diabetes specialist nurse. We get seen once a year at the GP surgery by a
Yeah.
nurse who's looking after the diabetics today, and it'll be the people with hypertension tomorrow. And she gave me my HbA1c was 74,
Mm.
right? So, or 8.9%, if you like.
Wow.
So, very high.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and although I'd got it down into the low 50s at when I first started lingaliptin, which is the, the diabetes GP had put me on, it had started creeping up again. And she gave me the same tired advice, eat less, move more, um, watch your sugar consumption. Nothing that I hadn't heard 1,000 times before, and as usual, no detail on how to achieve these things.
Very, very few information for you to, self-manage it.
Yeah. So I asked about um, glucose monitoring technology. Um, and I was told, well, as a type 2, you're not entitled to it on the NHS
Mm,
and it won't help you anyway. Again, those were her exact words, that it would not help me. And unlike in 1996 when I was diagnosed and told it's only going to get worse, this time I did not believe what I was told. And I went home and went on to the manufacturer's website,
hmm
and they were accepting new registrations again, so I was able to buy sensors.
Ah,
Um, and so I started self-funding. I got a a uh, a reader and two sensors,
uh-huh.
and they arrived on the. Look, a lot of people with diabetes talk about the diversity, the anniversary of the date they
Yeah,
were
yeah,
diagnosed.
yeah.
I have no idea.
I'm like the
Right?
same. I know it's sometime in the beginning of November, so
Yeah. Well, it was 1996, and it was warm in Melbourne, so it's summer,
yeah,
so it was
yeah,
either
yeah. You can estimate.
early in the year or late in the year.
It's one
I
of
think it
those
might have been
dates.
early.
Yeah, it's one of those dates you kind of block out of your mind until later on you're at the other side of it and you can, reflect
When
back.
was that? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can absolutely tell you the day I put my first sensor on.
Ah,
Right. It
quite
was the
visual.
5th of December, 2019. And by Christmas, I was on a low carbohydrate diet. Just the wealth of information
Wow. Yeah, that
that,
access, seeing their trends and the big picture. Wow. Wow.
right. And, initially it was flash glucose monitoring rather than continuous. But even so, that was enough. Hell, I was scanning
Mm.
that sensor 20, 30 times a day initially. That carried on for a good year. Uh, but I now had the information I needed to make
Mm.
choices. Um, so 14th of December, um, A1C of 74. On the 3 months later, on the 14th of February, 10 weeks after I put the sensor on, my A1C was 49.
Whoa. Huge drop. Wow. Wow. By having that data and you
Yeah,
really took control and engaged in your
yeah,
diabetes management and acknowledging your glucose numbers throughout the day. Wow, that's incredible.
yeah. But it took, sorry, I have a runny nose at the moment.
Ah, that's okay.
Um,
It's that time of year.
it is. Um, I dropped my my blood glucose by a third,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
And the target for people with type 2 is 48, and I got to 49. And it's been lower than that ever since.
Wow, what a shift. What a shift.
Um, but I truly believe I couldn't have done that if I hadn't made the mental shifts earlier to prioritize my
Yeah.
health.
Yeah. Yeah. You actually took that on board and maybe that was sounds like a little bit more of that acceptance and now I have this. This is I'm owning this responsibility and I'm
Yeah,
going to start now to take care of me.
yeah. That's exactly what happened. I mean, I had looked at glucose monitoring actually while I was still off on stress leave, but after I decided to leave, you know, in some ways I think it was a case of I've decided to put my health first, and
Mm.
if I'm going to do that, what can I do with my diabetes? Um,
Yeah, it's a great, I suppose, mental attitude that can really resonate for yourself to progress yourself forward. So with that shift that you mentioned, Mark, you have become such a strong voice in the type 2 diabetes community. What was it that, I don't know, maybe inspired you or helped you kind of step into that advocacy?
Okay, it really came out of the fairly spectacular results I got with the CGM.
Ah, yeah.
Um, the company that made them sent out a request for people's stories,
Okay.
and I replied. And look, due to stigma, almost no type twos want to talk about their condition.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, it's
Um,
different, isn't it?
yeah, and I she contacted me and asked me if I'd be interested in doing a little bit of work with them, and I was quite happy to help that do that because look,
Yeah.
when I first started properly managing my condition, I spent a lot of time looking online for information.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I actually end up mainly speaking to type ones because those are the ones who were using glucose monitoring and they're the ones who had all the information
Ah,
that I
yeah.
needed.
Yeah. And there was a lot more communication, and maybe people were talking about it more on the online community too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I, yeah, I'll touch on that a little bit later. Um, but I did get some flack from type ones,
Mm.
which is understandable because a lot of them's not. It's completely understandable because they get told, you did it to yourself. You're eating too much sugar, forgetting the fact that the real problem is with their pancreas and it's nothing to do with what they've chosen to
Mm.
eat.
Yeah.
Um, and so some of them resent it, and I don't agree with it, but I can understand why.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I digress. Um, one of the things that the technology company did was they organised an event for advocates,
Hmm.
and they invited me along to it. It's There were advocates from all over Europe there,
Ah, wow.
uh, and I got to hear all of the stories about what they were doing,
Yeah.
and I was truly humbled by hearing some of the stories about what they were doing, about how they were raising money and shipping sensors and insulin to
Mm.
low and middle income countries and stuff like that. And I thought I need to do more.
Hmm.
I got lots of help when I was first starting out, so I need to pay it back, or
Yeah.
as one of the organisations says, I needed to pay it forward,
Pay it
help
forward.
someone else.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was in the middle of 2023. And I decided to get involved in advocacy. Um, I asked one of the other people that was there, and he told me he was in an organisation called Dedoc. And Dedoc is a global organisation of diabetes advocates, and they provide scholarships for advocates to attend professional conferences.
Hmm.
And um, as with uh, everything else in advocacy, there are almost no type twos. So when I asked if I could get a scholarship and applied, I was fortunate enough to be successful, and I've now attended three professional conferences.
Mm.
Three? No, four now. I've been to the European Association for the Study of Diabetes conference and also the Diabetes UK conference, both last year and this year. And the amount of information I get there that I can then pass on to other people and helps me with my own management
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Twofolds.
is incredible.
Yeah. So that kind
Uh,
of initial event really seemed to have kicked off that ripple effect for your advocacy work. That,
oh,
that you,
absolutely.
yeah.
Um, and it's there's just so much misinformation around diabetes and type 2 in particular. I mean, with the possible exception of obesity, I can't really think of another condition where people get blamed for having the condition.
Yeah. Well, so kind of in saying that, what are things or what do you wish people did understand about type 2 diabetes? What are those types of maybe stigmas to debunk?
It's not about sugar
Mm,
and exercise. Um, yeah, look, the mantra that you get told if you speak to most medical professionals is eat less, move more,
hmm
all right, which is blaming you for having the condition
mm,
and not doing enough. Well, and the causes are largely genetic. I mean, yeah, there are modifiable environmental factors as well. Um, Heck, some of it comes down to socioeconomic conditions. There are people
yeah,
who can't
right.
afford a diet that would help them manage their diabetes,
Yeah, yeah. Very
right?
hard to access it.
Yeah. But it has very little to do with the amount of sugar you eat. Um, and the causes are largely genetic. And it's not their fault. It's not, and look, there's Diabetes UK have just started a new campaign saying it's not your fault.
Uh,
And then, you know, or it actually says it's your fault, and that's crossed out, and underneath it says it's nobody's fault.
yeah, yeah. That's
Um,
such a better way to look at it because you carry that weight of that guilt, when
Absolutely.
you're diagnosed.
Um, and the other thing to remember is that, yeah, so diet and exercise will help anybody with diabetes. Absolutely. I mean, certainly switching to a low carb diet has been the making of my management of my diabetes. But that doesn't mean a lack of those things is a cause.
Mm,
Right? Yeah, it will help, but that's not not doing those things is not why you got it.
yeah, yeah.
Um, the other thing I would ask people to remember, anybody to remember, is that nobody, absolutely nobody, chooses to have diabetes. Right?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty
Everybody is
powerful
doing
statement.
right. Everybody is doing the best they can at the time.
Yeah.
Nobody deliberately makes a bad decision. All right. Um, and blaming someone who is doing the best they can at the time with the knowledge and resources
Mm.
they have available to them is ignorant and cruel.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the other side of it. A lot of people don't have the resources, the education, the information, the technology. There's not a lot of stuff to support them going through
No,
this.
there isn't. And there should be. I mean, I know that Australia is now running public information campaigns around diabetes.
Mm,
Um, One of my contacts actually did a study on the first lot of TV ads that they did, and they actually came to the conclusion that in certain segments of the population, i.e., people without
mm,
diabetes, the ads were going to make things worse and they were going to increase the levels of stigma. The good news is that after that study was done, they changed the ads
yeah,
and they're now reducing the level of stigma. So,
yeah.
with enough government will and government backing, things can be done.
Yeah, it's
Um,
it's a really connected approach to trying to end the stigma. Well, I don't know, end, but just trying to break down some of that stigma. And even, with media and movies and TV shows and what they say in the papers, all of
yeah,
that is connected, and that's, how
yeah,
it's going to support that
yeah. Look,
destigmatizing.
right. Look, I'm going to mention Partha Carr, who's done a fantastic
Yes,
job for type 1
yes, she's great.
diabetes, working in the NHS. He is pretty much, fine, he's had a lot of support, but he did a fantastic job of getting better access for type 1s to diabetes technology, so CGM and then hybrid closed loop.
Mm,
And I met him at a conference last year and I asked him, what do we need to do to replicate your success with type 1 for type 2? And he says, you've got to get the conversation into the public sphere.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Start talking.
To do that, you've got to get type 2s talking about it.
Mm,
And to do that, you've got to end stigma.
yeah. 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 It's a hard one because you really are making yourself vulnerable. But at the same time, there's something in that vulnerable state that allows you to open up and be honest and maybe even be a little bit more true to yourself and what's going on, and
Yep.
as well as supporting other people.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is look, half the reason I'm an advocate is to stand up and talk about my diabetes and show other people it's okay to talk
Yeah.
about your diabetes,
Yeah. Yeah.
even if you've got type 2.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's even that it's like it's okay to not be okay, let's talk about
yeah,
this. Let's bring
yeah,
our voices. And so
absolutely.
I guess to kind of bring it into maybe like it's like one of those questions, that deserted island questions. But what's in your diabetes toolbox? What are things that help you to manage your diabetes day to day, or that you couldn't live without because it just brings you a little bit of empowerment and inspiration and less burnout?
Um, Number one is absolutely CGM,
Mm,
right? Look, I've got a sensor on now. My level is 8.1, um, which is higher than I want. Now, actually, there is,
I better look at mine now.
right,
I'm 8.
synchronicity.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
all right. This, the color around that is yellow, implying warning. Now, first of all, my CGM tells me where my levels are.
Hmm.
Right? I don't have to guess. And I know that it will warn me if I'm going high or low. I've set up the alarms, and my high alarm is at 8,
Yeah.
which now the standard range is actually 10.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a little bit higher, so you got a tight range.
Yeah, I try to always keep myself in tight range. The reason I do that, and this is another one of my tips and tricks, is I was talking about Eye of the Tiger. This next thing is inspired by Rocky. Um, if you want to stay number one, train like you're number two.
Mm, okay.
Right.
Mm, yeah.
So, in order that I don't ever go above 10, I start taking action when I'm at 8.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. It's a different way to
Right.
kind of see it to
Oh, well, in fact, yes, I am now 8. Um, so that is certainly another one of my my tricks and mindset. Um, Something I did the very first year at end of 2019 when I decided to go on a low carb diet.
Mhm.
I thought about my Christmas meal, and one of the things I absolutely love is roast potatoes.
Oh, they're
Right?
so good at that time too. They're
Yeah,
crispy, they're
exactly.
buttery, they're so good.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought, you know what? It's one meal,
Mm,
right? I don't have to worry about it. And I decided that I was going to enjoy my Christmas dinner
yeah, yeah.
and not worry about what it did to my levels. And having the CGM, I knew exactly what it was going to do to my
Right,
levels.
right, right.
And
You weren't going to get away from that, not knowing your levels.
but I didn't. I gave myself permission for that to
Yeah.
be okay.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yeah.
I will say that these days Christmas dinner is the only time I eat roast potatoes. as much as I love them, I only have them once a year.
Yeah.
Well, all right, I have them at Christmas time, and I always cook more than I need for Christmas dinner, so I'll be eating for the
Yeah,
next 2 or 3
leftovers.
days. But that's okay.
Yeah, yeah, that kind of flexibility and that space to enjoy. It's to have that little bit of enjoyment in between those tight times as well.
Yeah, and look, I love potato crisps, particularly paprika flavored ones, and I keep them in the cupboard. And 150-gram packet will last me 2 weeks,
Ah, okay, okay. You're like a little
right?
mouse.
Yeah, exactly. I just have five or
Nibble.
10, I have 10 grams nibbles of them every day, and it's one of my little treats.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a good way to kind of explore a treat. So it's not that you're completely taking it out, but you're still enjoying it in like a responsible way, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, I know that my approach won't work for everybody. I have spoken to other people with diabetes, and they said if I opened that 150-gram packet, I'd eat all of it. And
Yeah, yeah.
that's the way they are. And,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
different for them, and they've got to act in the way that works for them. And this
Yeah.
way works for me. And that's, I guess, is another thing, is that recognizing that everybody's
Mm,
diabetes is different,
absolutely.
right? I mean, one of my hypo treats that I keep in the freezer is I get them from Costco. They're Peking duck spring rolls. They are
I
really
didn't think
really
you were going to say
tasty,
that.
right? But they spike me like you would not believe. Um, if I'm really going low and I've misjudged my insulin
Yeah.
or whatever, um, which happens very rarely, I will say, then I put one of these in the microwave to defrost. It goes in the air fryer for about 2 minutes, and I eat that, and I can guarantee you, 15 minutes later, my hopo's gone.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I know it's a funny thing because I think I did a reel on this and it was like, when your blood sugar is kind of going low, you're not at the place where you're too low and you absolutely need fast acting. What do you go for? Do you go just for like, juice or do you eat the chocolate cake? Know? You got that little time to like have some, have a treat
yeah,
and it's a different approach, but I think like you said it so well, you have to find what's going to work for you, what's going to work for somebody else. Even if it's technology, that technology may not work for you. And I really find your approach to your diabetes management, find information, listen to others, but really bring on board what's going to suit your lifestyle, your diabetes the best.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm a computer programmer. I've spent most of my 40 years as a programmer working in reporting, right? So I'm data driven, and like this gives me data,
Yeah, yeah.
and um, when I first started using that, I was paying for them myself. So I either look at what it's telling me and make use of that information, or I'm wasting my money. So, I it's costing me money to get that information, so damn well better use it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. I'm investing in it. I'm going to invest in myself.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it really was an investment in myself. That's a good way to describe it.
Mm.
Um, I wouldn't be without my CGM. Um, the icing on the cake, though, for me and my management. Um, oh, look, one of the things I didn't say is, yeah, fine. February 14th, 2020, my A1C was 49. It's been lower than that ever since.
Mm.
Right. Um, but in 2020, my GP surgery, one of the local football clubs, Watford,
Mm-hmm.
was running a education course for people with diabetes. It was both um, information about food and also exercise as well.
Yeah.
It was a 12-week course.
Oh.
And I did that, and that helped me lose weight as well. My weight in 2020 and 2021 went from 126 kilos to 120, 102. I lost
Whoa.
4 stone.
Wow.
Um, but I couldn't, for the life of me, it didn't matter what I did, I couldn't get below 100 kilos. Um, but I have now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is um, you know, I know that some people will criticize me for not doing it just through diet, but I've been put on tirzepatide or Mounjaro.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, aside from the issues with my eyes, which are now
Yeah.
thankfully in abeyance for now. Oh, I just want to there's the Noctura 400 mask
Yes.
helps with diabetic retinopathy and glaucoma.
Okay.
Um, the 30-second explanation is while you right, diabetic retinopathy is caused by hypoxia in the eyes, where the blood vessels are damaged
Mm-hmm.
and your eyes don't get enough oxygen. So hypoxia, which is lack of oxygen, causes the formation of weak blood vessels, which can bleed. Um, Now, that hypoxia happens at night when you sleep, when your
Mm-hmm.
night vision turns on. So this mask shines a light through your eyelids while you
Mm-hmm.
sleep and stops your night vision turning on.
Mm. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
4 years after I got my diabetes well managed, I was still having problems with my eyes, and I started using this mask. Um, and I literally just had another round of laser surgery in early 2024.
Mm-hmm.
About 3 weeks later, I started with this mask. And in October, or was it November? Oh, whatever. Late
Yeah.
last year,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Sometime.
I saw the ophthalmologist, and he thoroughly examined my eyes and said, "Perfect. You
Okay.
have no more new blood vessel growth. You have no bleeds."
Ah.
And I'm still using the mask, and they are now available on the NHS
Yeah.
on
Wow.
prescription.
That's great to understand that this is something that has helped
Yeah,
you, but also that
it's
it's
called
available.
it's called the Noctura 400 mask.
Okay.
GPs can prescribe them, diabetologists, some prescribing optometrists can
Yeah.
prescribe them, and endocrinologists at the hospital as well. So,
Okay.
if people have retinopathy, I would highly recommend this and suggest they investigate further with their medical team.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Mark. Yeah, I'll get a little bit more information on that from you and I can share it out too. So,
Yeah,
um, you know, in investing yourself has become the part
a
of
habit.
yeah, habit, habitual and just part of your daily management.
Yeah.
Um, and just to kind of maybe close, like what message would you share with somebody that has been newly diagnosed with type 2 diabetes?
Remission is possible, all right? Not for everybody,
Mm.
but some people can go into remission. Um, Avoid sugar and exercise more. As I said earlier, yeah, they may not be the cause, but they will help
Mm.
with it. I was looking at something a couple of days ago. If you take a 2 minute brisk walk every half an hour during the day, literally 2 minutes, all right, 200 steps, that is enough to significantly help your diabetes.
And that's pretty accessible, isn't it?
it is. Um, Second, it's not your fault.
Mm,
It is absolutely not your fault. Um, but avoiding sugar is going to help, and all carbohydrate gets turned into sugar by the body, right? And there is absolutely no dietary requirement for carbohydrate in your diet. You need fats, or else you're going to get sick and die. And you need protein, or else you're going to get sick and die. But there is no dietary need for carbohydrate. And if your body does need some for any reason, it can synthesize it itself.
mm,
Um, but the other thing I would say is talk to people about it.
yeah,
Right? There are support groups out there. Diabetes UK has a network of support groups all over the UK. Um, some of the meetings are online, some of them are in person. Talk to other diabetics, talk to your family, um, and do let your work know, right?
yeah,
Um, there are legal protections for having diabetes in the UK because you are, it's regarded as a disability and all the disability protections apply.
yeah,
But you need to notify your work. And I know it can be scary, but have a conversation with somebody you work with and let them know about your condition. And, once you've learnt to manage it yourself, tell them what to do if you start having, if you start behaving oddly because your blood sugar is too low. Tell them what they can do. Explain how it's a bit like Goldilocks. You can be too low or too high.
hmm,
And, at some point, you might need sugar, and then other times it's the last thing you need.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. It can be a
um,
straightforward message. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, communication.
But it's I have been so lucky in my journey, right? I found out about the mask I mentioned I was at the Diabetes UK professional conference, and I happened to mention to a lady standing in a queue to get coffee
Mm,
that I'd had retinopathy surgery, and she said, "You need to come over to our stand." And that's how I learned about the mask.
yeah,
And if I hadn't learned about the mask and got the all clear on my retinopathy, they wouldn't have been able to prescribe Mounjaro for me
uh-huh.
for my diabetes. And Mounjaro I'd put on weight before, so I'd gone up to about 115 kilos. I started the Mounjaro, I'm now at 98 kilos. I've finally gotten below 100. My insulin usage just dropped by over 80%. Um, yeah, I've just been so lucky, but you have to make your own luck as well. Um, you have to prioritize your health. There are people who can go through their life and not really worry about their health. Your genetics as a type 2 mean that you have to pay more attention to your health. Right? Um, and I know that's scary, and I know it's tiring, and it's relentless, and everybody with diabetes goes through the same thing.
Yeah,
And it's true for a lot of other chronic conditions as well, but particularly I think for diabetes, given all the stigma around it.
yeah, yeah,
But you can do it, and you can keep it well managed, and you can live your life. You know,
mm,
there was a campaign a couple of years ago saying I can eat cake, right? Which and the idea was that people with diabetes, admittedly that was mainly for type ones, but um, providing you take your meds in the appropriate
yeah,
doses, you can live your life and within reason eat what you like.
yeah, yeah,
I don't miss out on my treats and I enjoy my food, but I've just had to change what I eat.
yeah. I think those are, you know, all powerful messages that connect with you on a mind, body, spirit kind of level, you know. that accepting it into your life, investing in your health, um, understanding how, food and exercise can support your diabetes management and your insulin, how your insulin works in your body. And then on the other side, knowing what's available for you, knowing what
Yeah,
you can get access to, and talking to other people, connecting to other people so that you don't have to go alone on this journey. And
yeah,
that is something that is pretty powerful.
it is. Oh, one final tip. Um, there are documents available online that can help you prepare for your meeting with a healthcare professional.
Ah, yeah, you may
It
send
makes you
me
think
that
makes
so
you
I can share.
think about what questions you want to ask them, what your concerns are, so that you can walk into the meeting, you can show them this list and say, these are the things I'm worried about. Can we
Yeah.
please talk about them?
Yeah. It goes back to kind of
Um,
advocating for yourself and using that time,
yeah,
really maximize your time when you're there.
right. A you get to speak to medical professionals as a person living with diabetes a fraction of 1% of the time. It's maybe 2 hours a year, right? Um, your diabetes is not managed by the healthcare professionals. It's managed by you with assistance from the healthcare
Mm,
professionals. It took me a
yeah.
while to understand that one,
Yeah, yeah. How
but
does it all
it,
work together?
yeah, um, like any chronic condition, you manage it yourself. Your healthcare team advises you,
Yeah, yeah.
but
It's having your diabetes care team, and there's a lot of different parts and parties involved, and all of
yeah,
them help you to bring a little bit more confidence so that you can self-manage
yeah.
it. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mark, for sharing your story with diabetes so openly and honestly. And if people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
Um, Facebook and LinkedIn will be the best platforms to get hold of me. Uh, oh, look, I can send you the links so you can
Yeah,
probably add
yeah.
them.
I'll
Uh,
tag you so anybody else that can connect with you, you can go there.
Great.
That's great. Well,
It's been wonderful to be on. Every time I talk about my diabetes, I learn something new about my diabetes and about myself. So, um, you know, always happy to talk and to help people. If they've got questions, feel free to contact me.
oh, that's great. It's always, I feel like it's kind of a therapy session, isn't it? When we're
It
able to
is.
kind of talk about
Look,
our stories.
it. I said I'd work with a technology company. That was in 2022, and it wasn't till I was explaining to that lady that I realized that in the middle of 2019 I had chosen to prioritize my health,
Mm,
and that everything else I had done followed from that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
that is probably the biggest message I can give is prioritize your health.
Okay. Well, prioritize your health. Well, thanks again, Mark, and thanks everyone for
Thanks,
listening.
Erin.
And yeah, here's to thriving through the craziness of diabetes, but doing it together.